Ugh. Okay. We're back. We are back, baby. Baby. Let's do this. Sorry, been a little while. Gotta figure out where the microphone's supposed to go. Right here. Okay. Let's do this. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Something's Wrong podcast. I'm your host, Dick Hickok. And today we are going to be examining another slasher film. Sorry for the long hiatus. It's been a little while. And it's been that way for a variety of reasons. Reasons that I don't really feel at liberty to get into. It's mostly funding, but sometimes you gotta get what you pay for and give what you get, and bootstrap and tie up those bootstraps or whatever the fuck. Anyway, today's episode is going to be on another slasher film. Last episode was on the film Uncle Sam, directed by William Lustish, and this time we're going back a decade into the sweet 1980s, the heyday of bullshit movies, and this one is The New York Ripper, 1982 mystery horror slasher type of film by a Italian director named Lucio Fulci. But before we get too deep into that, we're gonna go into the NOSLEEP the NOSLEEP segment that everyone knows and loves. Knowing it and love it. They love it so much that no one's been fucking voting for any of the stories. So once again, I'm just gonna pick one at random, and then we're gonna go with it. Let's go with fuck it. We've been on a long hiatus. How about we go with something a little bit mysterious? How about this one. Something happened to me when I was a kid. There's no way this can get fucking terrible. Get this research out of the way. I don't need that. I'm a professional. I don't need research. Let's do that. That. Damn it, you son of a bitch. This one. Let's see if it got deleted. Nope, it didn't. Alright, this one looks pretty bad. Yeah, you know what? I don't even want to do this one. This one just looks terrible. This one just looks like shit. I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to read that. How about ice cream? How about, it's the height of summer. It's the dog days of summer. Everyone's eating ice cream. How about this one? If you hear an ice cream truck at midnight, keep away. I hope this also is not going to be another story involving child abuse because, I don't think everyone... All right, ice cream truck. All right, there's like years worth of ice cream truck stories, but I'm going with the most recent one because that was the one that I believe I actually put on the list. So this is by a user named Luther Writes Horror, and I sure hope he does, or they do. And the story is called If You Hear an Ice Cream Truck After Midnight, Keep Away. No punctuation, not required. Okay, starting the story. The night this happened, I'd been staying away from my apartment for the last week because my roommate and I hadn't been getting along. So I'd stay out until about midnight downtown, and then I'd walk the couple of miles back to my neighborhood. We lived in half of a duplex, but the area is mostly single-family houses. In the daytime, there are always little kids running around causing mischief, especially in the summer. And of course, with that comes the ice cream trucks. Usually I find the song comforting, dancing up from the heat waves over the July asphalt. It makes me think of my own childhood, running after that sound with a wad of crumpled dollars in my hand, tart popsicles melting red and blue all over my hands. All right, hands. All right, the last night as I was walking home, hoping my roommate was asleep, I heard that sound again. It was way too late for an ice cream truck to be out, but I heard it, far in the distance. The only other sounds were my feet clicking against the concrete sidewalk and the occasional late-night sprinkler spritzing the most pristine lawns. I passed through a couple blocks curious, trying to find where the music was coming from. Eventually, I come to a block I didn't recognize, and the ice cream truck was there, playing its song, idling on the side of the street as if it was the middle of the day. But what really surprised me was that there were tons of kids playing in all the yards, running, shouting, laughing. No adults in sight, and it was after midnight. I wonder if I should be calling Child Protective Services or something. This has to be some sort of negligence, doesn't it? But the whole block was filled with kids. It wasn't like it was just one house. Maybe this was some weird holiday sort of thing I didn't know about. One group of kids, they couldn't have been quite old enough for elementary school. There were 4 of them, all chased each other around, jumping. The one in front said, "I'm the Frog King." The ones behind all argued, "No, I'm the Frog King. I'm the Frog Knight. I'm going to beat you all, and then I'll be the Frog King and the Frog Knight." Frog Kings all. How simple it was to be a kid like that. They weren't aware that their parents were being neglectful, letting them run wild in the front yard past midnight. Oh, shit. Ooh, sorry. Bad typo. Back to the story. They didn't know they were in a bad situation that put them in danger. All they knew was the Frog Kingdom in their minds, where Frog Knights swore fealty to hopping amphibious royalty. In the yard, my two boys sat on a swing set in... My bad. In the yard to my right, 2 boys sat on a swing set in blue caps, slowly swinging back and forth, not putting much effort in. As I walked, they stared at me, expressionless. It was unnerving. They didn't seem to be talking or even breathing. Their stares just followed me as I progressed up the block, their eyes dead. It felt surreal. Sure, it was possible that one family would have let their kids play way past what their bedtime should have been, but there were kids playing in front of every house on the block. It didn't add up. I dug around my pockets for change as I neared the ice cream truck. There was a little bit of a line, but I figured I'd ask the driver if he knew what was going on and why there were so many kids out at this time of night. Children waited in front of me, discussing what they should get, as if it was the most normal thing in the world. Not one of them so much as glanced in my direction as the line advanced. The ice cream man put on a show of selling the different frozen treats. Popsicles, ice cream cones, ice cream sandwiches, fudgesicles, that's spelled wrong. Frozen berry-flavored cartoon characters on sticks. He had everything I'd expect to see at an ice cream stand. "I'll have a fudgesicle," I said, holding out a $5 bill when I got to the front of the line. "You don't belong here," the ice cream man said. Just walking home when I heard the music, thought I could do with a treat. "This isn't a place for people like you. Get out of here." Earlier, I thought the ice cream man was young, but now I was actually face-to-face with him in the dim light. I realized he was actually quite old. His face was cratered by scars and wrinkles, and he moved with a sense of lethargy. "Get out before you regret it," he said. Whoa, I was taken aback. What's the deal with all this anyway? Why are all these kids out? What are you doing selling ice cream past midnight? "What kids?" he asked. I looked around, and all the kids I'd seen only moments before were gone. The whole block was filled with children a moment ago. You were selling ice cream. They must have finally gone inside. Seriously, something weird was going on. Kids shouldn't be out like this late, I stammered. "Now you've gone and done it. Meddling with things you don't understand," he said as his hand shot out and grabbed my arm. His grip was strong, cold and strong, grasping so tightly I shrieked in pain, trying to jerk myself free of him. But he held on. His eyes went wide and angry as he screamed nonsense at me. "You've gone and done it. It was all good until you came around. Now you're coming with me. I didn't want to do this yet." I managed to pull myself free and took off running. Quick aside, that last sentence is in italics. So I guess maybe read it with feeling. I managed to pull myself free and took off running. I'm not much of an athlete, but one thing I'm halfway decent at in that regard is sprinting. So I put some distance between myself and that ice cream truck quickly, but before I was at the end of the block, I heard him turning around to follow me. When I turned the corner, I had hoped I had lost him, but moments later I heard that familiar music as he turned to follow me. Strangely, he didn't seem to be trying to catch up, as I'm sure the truck could have rammed me down with ease. Instead, he kept his distance, trailing a few hundred feet behind me, driving with no headlights on. Reckless, I turned and jumped the fence into someone's backyard. Sure, they might call the cops or burst out their door with a shotgun, but hopefully I'd be back out of their yard and into the next one before that came to pass. What I knew for certain is I had rather deal with rational people than with this deranged ice cream truck man. My hand shot through with pain as I scaled another fence trying to lose him. I looked down and realized in the dim light that I'd sliced open my palm. I'd worried about that when I got home. It felt like the side of my torso had been driven through with a stake, but the music sounded like it was getting further and further away. Before long, I had made it back to the duplex. I stumbled inside and collapsed into the sofa, catching my breath. Not minutes later, though, I heard that familiar music turn down my block, stopped in front of the duplex. "Come on, just go away. Go in your creepy way and leave me alone," I whispered under my breath. That's when the light clicked on and turned to see my roommate perched behind me with a pissed-off look on his face. "Jesus Christ, what's wrong with you?" "Turn off the light," I said. "What? Why?" "Just do it. There's someone outside. I'll explain later," I said, but it was too late. The ice cream man began banging on the door. "Get out here! You ruined everything, and now you're going to pay for it. It's all your fault they had to go away." "What's going on?" my roommate asked. "Shh, we're not here. This guy is insane. He chased me in his ice cream truck," I whispered. My roommate went to the door. "Leave us alone or I'm calling the police." "You've ruined everything. I'm not leaving until you make it better." My roommate peeked out of the sight hole. "It's a little old man. I'm going to open up and see, and if he tries anything, I'll knock him out. This is BS. Someone needs to teach him a lesson." "No!" I shouted, thinking about that Vice script that left bruises on my arm. The door swung open, and the little old man grabbed my roommate by the throat. "You're not the one I wanted, but you'll do," he said, strangling him. My roommate struggled and lashed out at the old man, but once the grip tightened over his throat, he couldn't wrench himself free. I dashed to the door to help him, but in mere moments the old man had dragged him halfway down the sidewalk. "Back! Back! Stay back! This is for your own good! Don't you see? It was either him or you!" I staggered out, slack-jawed. "No, no," I said. The old man dragged him into the ice cream truck, and as he closed the door and turned his music back on, children came out from every house on the block to watch him as he left. When the truck passed the end of the block, I saw him evaporate into thin air. Well, that was, you know what? That one wasn't too bad. A little bit, nothing too flashy, but hey, he wrote this. Who was this person? Luther. Luther wrote the story, and it was relatively coherent. There wasn't that many spelling mistakes. I kind of just pointed them out because the ones that I saw were noticeable, and they just made the word different. But it's fine. I don't know. I guess this guy is gonna have to fucking sublet or some shit because losing a roommate like that, a duplex, like how expensive is this apartment? It's obviously in a neighborhood where there's a bunch of kids, so I'd assume it's not too cheap. So, whatever. If the ice cream truck goes down your street, then you're not living in that bad of a neighborhood, right? So this dude's gonna have to sublet. There's some nice little theories in the comments. This might be Charon, the ferryman. It's from Greek mythology. This god or entity, whichever you want to believe, it's not a god. This person didn't really read their Greek mythology, but whatever. It could take people across the river to Hades. The ferryman in Annabelle The ferryman in Annabelle Comes Home is the move version of him. He could take you across, but for a price. What the fuck? Annabelle? Annabelle Comes Home. What the fuck is Annabelle Annabelle Comes Home. Yeah, that is not directorial debut. Yeah, this is so there's a sequel to Annabelle and Annabelle Creation. Yeah, I don't think that one was. I don't know if that one went into theaters, honestly. Release. Oh, it was. I guess. Wow. Oh, that's cool. I guess really Blu-ray. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it did sort of okay at the box office. Whatever. Anyway, this is kind of a weird movie to reference. That's all I'm saying here. And speaking of weird movies to reference, let's talk about The New York Ripper. Now, The New York Ripper is directed by Lucio Fulci. And if you don't know who Lucio Fulci, that's okay. You know what? I'm not gonna praise the nerds here for knowing who the fuck all these Italian horror film directors are. But He's pretty famous. He had a very large body of work in the 20th century, and he made a lot of very disturbing, weird films. Um, he's known as one of the architects of the giallo film genre. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but whatever. Come at me. Send me the correct pronunciation in the comments or some shit. Yeah, giallo, I believe it's called. And it's usually like some kind of like a procedural murder mystery type of thing where there's some sort of killer or some sort of entity that's out, hunting people down for an unknown reason, and then there's usually a detective or some type of other investigating character who's trying to track down the killer and figure out what's going on. But it's got like a certain type of Italian flair or something like that. Yeah, giallo. Let me just make sure I got all that right. Giallo. Yeah, murder mystery fiction. Yeah, it's kind of just like an Italian slasher, basically. It's Italian slasher murder mystery type of thing. And this one is set in New York City. And when you get these giallo films, these spaghetti slashers, if you will, sometimes they do love to just have American settings, even if the actors are all Italian or foreign. And that means that the dialogue is all ADR'd. And ADR means that they record all the dialogue after filming the movie. And so even though the actors in the film are saying stuff, the actual dialogue audio comes from a separate recording in the studio. And sometimes it's not even the same actors doing the recording afterwards. Sometimes they just get completely different people, and it sounds ridiculous. But yeah, this is a bit of a gruesome film. I'll be honest. This is a bit of another little content warning here, because there's a lot of not great things happen to women in this movie, and I'm not just talking about the slashing or the method of the slashing. It's just it's not great being a woman in this movie. And that's kind of a theme of a lot of giallo films that I've seen so far. It's a lot of women getting chopped up, and I guess audiences just eat that shit up. But goddamn, New York does not look like a fun place to be. And I guess in the 1980s, New York wasn't that fun anyway. But we'll get to that. So the premise is that there's a killer stalking New York City, and slices and dices. But the summary of the film calls his victims sexually active young women, but not all of them are sexually active. Some of them are just woman. Some of them are just like women out there. We don't know if they're all sexually active. Like here's an example. So the first victim we see is just the aftermath. Like some dude's out walking his admittedly adorable little dog. It's like a little golden retriever, and he goes and has it fetch a stick down by the docks by the river, which is a weird spot to go play fetch with your dog, down by the creepy docks in New York City in the 1980s. But hey, what are you gonna do? And the dog goes into a bush and pulls out a human hand, and and as soon as it pulls out the hand, immediately this classic detective music just starts, like this 80s detective rock music, just something like that. And yeah, and after that point I had the note, oh yeah, it's Italian. And that's because I heard all the voiceovers, the ADR. And none of the voices in it are all that bad. Like, this is a pretty quality giallo film. This is a pretty quality Italian to American audience sort of movie. It makes me think that the actual actors themselves, in most cases, did the audio for their scenes, which is which helps. But yeah, and then there's another victim. Oh no! So shit. What the hell's going on? Okay, yeah, they find the first victim, and yeah, I guess they're able to kind of identify her because she's like a young woman who went missing, and her landlord reported her missing. And her landlord is like this weird old lady who in the ADR at least is supposed to sound just like, oh no, her character is Jewish. Like she had a Jewish last name, but it's like the voiceover is just this incredibly thick Jewish American New York accent. And she mostly just kind of like just prattles on about like, oh, like this girl didn't pay her rent and she's going out with all these men, and like that she's probably like a prostitute or something. And like she calls her hot, which I found was pretty weird. And then she offered a very interesting detail that you'd think the detective would kind of listen to immediately. He said that she was talking to a dude with a voice that sounded like a duck. And so this is a theme in the rest of the movie. You know, they're talking about this guy as a voice. It's not a theme. It's fuck, I don't know. Maybe it is a theme. But either way, the killer in this movie sounds like not just a duck. Like he's not going quack quack quack. He sounds like fucking Donald Duck. And it says this in the summary on Shudder, the streaming services that I watched this on. And it says in the plot summary, the killer sounds like Donald Duck. But they never say Donald Duck in the movie. And that's probably because they can't have a fucking like Disney character like Donald Duck be associated with a guy who stabs woman in the coochie. And that's indeed what happens. The next victim is a woman on a bike. She's going around riding on her bike. She gets in a bit of a road rage incident with some dude who calls her a stupid bitch, and then she calls him an asshole and then rides away. And then for whatever reason, she's taking the same ferry as this guy, and so she follows him and waits until he leaves his car in the ferry, and she gets out and then starts like writing shit all in lipstick all over the inside of his windshield, which is weird. I don't know why she would go in the car to do that. But the point of her getting in the car is so then when the killer walks up, she's trapped. And the killer walks up and it says some gibberish like, "Oh, that's your big idea," but it says it in like, I don't know if I can do Donald Duck, but like this guy comes in and he does indeed sound like Donald Duck. He's, "Yeah, Chris, is that the best you can do?" And just like, and then as he's killing her, he literally does go quack quack quack. He makes a fucking quacking noise. He makes like an angry quacking noise. And it's just all right. It's just so fucking bizarre. This whole movie, like, it's really something astounding. I was watching it, and there's just such a feeling of just grime while watching it, because like the way he kills these women is, it seems that he stabs them in the vag, and then he just kind of works his way up. And it's just kind of gross and weird every single time. Like, it's not like you're like, yeah, whoa, crazy brutal kill. It's like, ooh, stabbed her there. That's uncomfortable. And then like, oh, stabbed her in other places. And then there's like ketchup all over her after. And it's brutal. So the kills, they're not, like, once again, this might just be me. Maybe other people like seeing that sort of shit in movies. But, you know, it's not necessarily my type of kill, personally. Not my type of kill at all. But, you know, that's how this girl gets done in. She can't get out of the fucking car because she put herself inside the car, and so the guy just like cuts her up with a switchblade. And yeah. So the rest of this movie, about half of this movie is like, okay, like related to the main plot, right? So there's like, you know, there's the killer killing some woman, and then there's the detective dude who's like, he's like this like weird old guy, and like, you know, he does kind of sound like a old grizzled detective in 1980s New York. Like he's seen some shit, But like it is kind of weird because he's like this old guy. He has like a pretty um high up job in the police force, but then he just goes out and sleeps with prostitutes. And he doesn't have like a wife or kids or anything. He's just like a detective who then goes out and sleeps with prostitutes. And yeah, I don't this the whole procedural aspect in this one is pretty weak because a lot of it is just like, oh, the killer does something. And then it's the 1980s, so even though there's like blood from the killer. There's like blood from the killer on under like the victim's nails and stuff. But, you know, it's the 1980s. They don't have DNA testing. So they just like get the killer's blood type and it's like, "Oh, well, that's fucking useless." Apparently no fingerprints. He was using gloves and shit. And so a lot of the procedural aspect of it is just the detective and the police force waiting for more murders to happen. And like initially there's sort of a subplot that starts where it's like the detective's boss comes to him, he's like, "Hey." They give him like a high pitched, like nasally little asshole voice, like, "Hey, don't let the media run away with this one, all right? We're trying to keep this on the down low. We don't want people to think there's a problem." And the detective is just like, yeah, whatever, sure. But it just kind of like gets out anyway. So there was kind of no point to that really, other than just to show that this guy's boss is kind of a dick because the media gets a hold of it regardless. But yeah, most of the procedural is one part of the procedural is just waiting for the killer to kill people. And then the other half of it is the detective talking to this psychologist guy who's supposed to be some type of like psychoanalytical genius. He's apparently, from what I could gather from the context, he's like this professor at the university, New York University, whatever. I don't know which university, but he's at a university. And yeah, he's supposed to be like this genius, but more often than not, he's just kind of an asshole. Like he comes in and he's like, the detective's like, "Oh, you think you can help us out here? You think you can help us analyze this guy?" Ah, shit. Sorry. Hang on. Yeah. So he's trying to get the psychologist to help him. The psychologist is like, "Oh, do you know how much a genius costs per hour?" or some shit like that. Like the dialogue in this movie is fucked, and that's the other aspect of it where you can tell that it's a spaghetti slasher, that it's an Italian horror movie, because when they kind of try and make even the best ones, like Lucio Fulci is considered one of the best, but like even the best ones sometimes will have trouble kind of getting Italian dialogue to like American slang, you know, or like with like an American speaking style. And obviously they don't do any research into any sort of science with this, because this supposedly genius psychologist literally just tells them, "Well, we have to wait for him to kill again, and then obviously it's a very intelligent individual." And it's like he has no reason to know that this dude is an intelligent individual. He's some fucking psycho who stabs women in the pussy and then like just like dumps their bodies and shit and leaves his own blood everywhere. And it's like, how what makes this guy so smart? But he's so smart because the psychologist says he's so smart, right? It's because the psychologist says so. And because of this, they kind of just wait. They wait for another murder to happen. And I'll tell you what, I don't actually remember when the other murder occurred or who it occurred to at all. So let me just take a look at that. Then your kills the Oh, yeah. So the next kill is an exotic performer, I guess. It's basically a live sex show, right? Now, here's an actual theme in the movie: gross sex in New York City and gross, creepy, pervert activities in New York City. There's one of them is just a live sex show where a bunch of dudes cram into this grimy ass theater, and then a couple people have sex on like a stage in front of them. And so one of the camera follows this creepy looking dude going into the live sex show. He's a weird, like, kind of like big guy with like greasy hair, and he's missing 2 fingers on his hand. So he looks fucked up. But we don't hear him talk, so we don't know if if he has the duck voice. Now, to a film aficionado like myself, this is a very obvious red herring. Like, obviously, this big fucking knucklehead isn't the Donald Duck killer going meh. That's what it sounds like when he kills people. And so obviously this big fucking speechless gamoot isn't the one doing that. But whatever. We follow him in, and the people have sex, and we watch that for a while, because that's the other part of this movie where it's just gratuitous sexual content. And blah 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 blah. What happens? Yeah. So anyway, in short, one of the performers goes into the dressing room, and someone took out one of the light bulbs and left it on the floor, and she steps on and fucks up her foot, and then she like goes to like a different part of her dressing room where there's creepy dark curtains for some reason, even though she's already in her dressing room. And then a hand reaches out with a glass bottle and stabs her in the pussy. Hang on. Roll that back. A hand reaches out of the curtains and stabs her in the genitals with a glass bottle, and just like holds the bottle there and going, and Harley's blood everywhere, and the girl's going, ah. And then I guess she just kind of like bleeds out and dies from that one wound, because he doesn't really do anything else, and we just kind of hear him walk away. And so that's the next kill. And oh god, a lot of this movie is just a lot to follow. Yeah. So for a while in this movie, I thought that the psychologist was the murderer, because obviously he's like narcissistic type dude. He likes talking to like women and stuff. Like he kind of like flirts with one of his students or something, or like one of his grad students in his lecture room. And yeah, I don't know. He's always talking about superior minds, like, oh, this must have a superior mind. And then enter this other character who I thought was the psychologist's wife, but now I'm thinking might either be the police commissioner's wife or like just some other rich dude's wife. I wasn't paying attention very well. Here's a theme of the Something's Wrong podcast. I'm not fucking paying attention to this shit if it's not interesting. But yeah, this is someone's like rich wife who's like sexually repressed, and she kind of just like goes around the city looking for like sexual experiences. We see her in the live sex show. She's like a woman in like a trench coat, and she starts like touching herself and stuff, and it's kind of weird, but it's like, she's like good looking. Like, she's not supposed to be the gross part necessarily. She's supposed to be like the tempted woman. And yeah, so she goes to like another scene. She goes to like a bad part of town, and it's a bad part of town because there's working class Mexicans there, and so that means she's in the grimy part of town. And it just gets grosser from there, because like basically she goes into a bar with these guys, and then they like sit across the table from her, and she's like kind of not really reacting to them. And then one of the guys like let's say this, let's say molests her with his foot. And it's pretty gross, because you can kind of imagine it in your head. She's not wearing clothes under her trench coat, and so he just kind of like puts his foot under the table. And then yeah, that's what happens. And then the other guy feeds her beer, and it's basically rape at that point. It's a really just kind of gross scene to watch, and I really didn't want to watch it, but I also, as a professional, I didn't want to pull away because I didn't know if something important to the movie would happen. But as it turns out, it's not, you know, it's not. She just kind of goes like, eventually she just kind of goes like, no, because the guy pulls the table away, and that would like reveal that she's like enjoying it or something, and so then she runs out of the bar. It's horrible. It's a horrible scene. I just thought I'd let you know that that's in there. Yeah. So take that as you will. If you want to see that, go watch this movie. Um, oh yeah, there's my note. There's my note. Theme: NYC is full of perverts. Um, all right, another scene. There's a young woman, and she meets the guy who's missing two fingers in a subway, and he's like eyeing her up all creepy, and so she like runs away from him, and then she goes into this alleyway, and the killer almost gets her. The killer like almost stabs her with a switchblade, and it clanks into the bricks, and she runs away. And then she has like a hallucination where she goes into like another sex theater, and blah blah blah, yeah, another sex theater, and she has a vision of a guy she knows killing her. And then she wakes up in the hospital after her experience. I guess she had just like collapsed somewhere, and they had found her. She hadn't actually gone to a sex theater and gotten stabbed. But she wakes up in the hospital, and this guy and the same guy from her dream comes in to see her. And obviously she's like, oh, I know. And at first I could not figure out their relationship for the life of me. But I guess this dude is supposed to be her boyfriend. First I thought it was her dad. Because at first I thought she said dad. But no, then I guess she said like, I don't know, whatever his name was, Chad or Peter or something. Peter? Yeah, I guess the guy's name is Peter, so maybe she said Pete or something like that. Either way, it took me forever to figure out that it is her boyfriend. And yeah, and so because she's a survivor of the killer, they kind of put her under investigation. The psychologist talks to her boyfriend, who, as it turns out, is a super genius man. He plays chess and is a physicist. And he talks about like high quality. Smart man. What am I looking at here? Okay, yeah, I just put down like salient point. I should have written this down, but the guy Peter, he's a superior. Obviously, at this point, you figure out, okay, this guy is probably the killer, because at this point we're halfway through the movie and there's no new characters. So either this guy's another red herring and it actually is the psychologist, or this dude is the killer, because he's the only other prominent male character in the film, and the big guy with the two fingers missing is obviously a red herring, right? And so it's like but his research project is studying entropy he's studying entropy in a closed system at 0 degrees Kelvin. And for those of you who don't know, 0 degrees Kelvin is the lowest temperature there possibly can be. So at that temperature, literally, not to give a thermodynamics lesson here, but at that temperature, nothing moves. At that temperature, there is no heat energy. There is no motion energy, according to the laws of physics. There's no energy, so there can't be any movement, any chaos, any entropy. So he just keeps he has this old equation that I think I recognize from a chemistry exam or something in high school, and he just keeps drawing dashes next to it and stuff, and he just it's gibberish, but it's literally just an equation that already exists and already tells you that there's fucking 0 heat energy and 0 entropy at 0 degrees Kelvin. Nothing moves unless I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure nothing moves at 0 degrees Kelvin, right? I'm not going to have to cut out this entire thing, right? Uh, yeah, 0. No entropy. I was right. Booyah! So fucking smart. You guys all thought I was stupid. I'm not. I'm a genius. I'm a fucking superior mind out here. All of you doubted me through this whole episode. You're like, oh, he could never tell us elementary chemistry facts. You're wrong. Eat shit. Anyway, okay. So they talk to the boyfriend, and like the psychologist goes like, but he doesn't really tell his suspicions to the detective. I think maybe he does a little bit, but once again, at this point, the scenes are all starting to run together, and the setting is just kind of gross. It's not my type of movie, so I wasn't paying attention. But anyway, actual detective work here. They try and trap the killer because the killer has been. I forgot to mention this. He's been calling the lead detective, our main character, the detective, and he knows that the detective is like sleeping with a prostitute, and he knows where that prostitute is. And so, in his infinite genius, the detective leaves his favorite prostitute alone and tries to trap this guy by being like, all right, well, if you're gonna do a killing for me, then do it. Tell us how you're doing it and where you're doing it. And the killer's like, no, I won't do that. That's no fun. I'll be gone. And they try and trace the call, because I guess that's a technology that they had back in the 80s. They can trace calls. But as it turns out, there is the place that they traced the call to was just a walkie-talkie at a fucking phone booth. And they were like, shit, god damn it. Oh no, we didn't realize there was a phone booth in this fucking area where there's nothing but a dock. Like, there's no one out there. How could the dude be just killing someone in broad daylight out on the dock while talking in a fucking payphone? You guys are stupid. But anyway, so as it turns out, he actually has the detective's favorite. Oh, well, this is a little crass. At this point, I was getting a little sick of this movie, so I said the killer has the detective's favorite whore with a whole lot of O's. Yeah, so he has her, and in the most gruesome and interesting kill of the movie, he has her tied to the bed and then cuts her up with a razor blade, and like basically just like fillets her, and it's like horrible. They find the aftermath, and like yeah. They find the aftermath, and it's pretty horrendous. Like, honestly, the other ones, it's just like, spattered ketchup on the clothes and put some other cuts around and shit like that. This one looked pretty bad. It looked pretty torturous, pretty slicey dicey, not great. At this point in the movie, I was still thinking it could be the psychologist man, especially after. Oh, and at one point, the guy with two fingers missing, they find out who he is. Oh shit, I left out a bunch of shit. So the woman who was in the sex theater and got molested with her foot is not the same as Peter's girlfriend. She's like some rich dude's wife, and she ends up getting killed after going back home with the dude with 2 fingers. But she isn't killed by the dude with 2 fingers. He just does some BDSM stuff to her, and like to the point where in the aftermath scene where he's like asleep, she's still tied up, which I guess is kind of a dick move, honestly, just leaving her tied up while the guy goes to sleep. But yeah, it's pretty terrible. She's got like whip marks on her, but I guess she had a good time or something. But anyway, she gets like untied. She unties herself because she hears on the radio that like this guy is the murder suspect, and she goes like, "Oh shit!" And so she runs out of the room. But then once she's out of the room, the killer's in the hallway somehow and kills her. And it's like, oh damn! So it wasn't this dude. And they find out this dude is like some Greek like porn guy or something. So they call him a gigolo, which is weird, I guess. But yeah, it's like maybe this guy didn't do it, and the psychologist is like, no, he obviously didn't do it because he's dead now. He looks like he realized he would get framed for the murders and then killed himself with a plastic bag. And I'm like, well, that's lame and it's kind of dumb, but whatever. And so really, the final piece of the puzzle is really more discovered by Peter's girlfriend in a surprisingly a surprising show of intelligent female characters. I guess I forgot about this, but like more towards the middle when we're first introduced to this couple, Peter just kind of mentions to her face like, "Oh, for someone with a 184 IQ, you're so silly sometimes." But as it turns out, she's fucking smarter than his goofy ass because she figures out that like since a lot of the attacks have been happening kind of near their apartment and in places that like her boyfriend is familiar with, she starts to suspect him, and she goes into his attic and finds that there's like a little girl's room up there. And so the big twist is that as it turns out, Peter had like a wife before this girl, and they had a kid, and the kid is now in the hospital because like she had like lymphatic cancer or something like that, or lymphatic bone cancer. It was some type of, the point was it was some type of terminal illness, and she would never grow up, and she was already disfigured, and so like he's like mad that he'd like I guess the idea is that he's mad that she would never grow up to be beautiful, and so he goes out killing random woman as like an avenger for his daughter or some shit. It's a stupid motive, but it's kind of an interesting twist in an otherwise really straightforward, oh, it's a psychopath killing woman movie. But yeah, so the girl kind of figures that out, and she overhears him, Peter, talking in the duck voice to what she figures out is his daughter. And so she's like, oh my God, he's going to kill me next. And so she ends up kind of tricking him. She takes a knife from the kitchen and like runs up the stairs. And then like, sorry, it's a brand new day. Yeah, leaving off. So the girl, her name's Faye. I don't think I mentioned that so far. Her name is Faye. And she goes up the stairs. Up to the daughter's room, and Peter like runs after her and says like, "Don't go up there, Faye. Don't go up there. Don't go up there." And he comes up, and he whips open the door, and she's there, and she tricked him, and then she stabs him a couple times in the torso, and he goes ah, and falls down the stairs, and he falls all the way down the stairs to the bottom of the stairs, to the point where it looks like he's dead. And so she kind of slowly walks down those stairs, and in an interim scene, or not in an interim scene, in some scene a little bit before this, I believe we saw that the detective had kind of had a hunch about Faye, and so when he's discussing with the psychologist, he's like, "Oh, you might think I'm some kind of idiot, but here's where my police work comes in. I had Faye followed because it seemed like there might be some incentive for the killer to go after her again," or something like that, because she had survived the killer, supposedly, but really she just survived getting assaulted by the Greek dude. But anyway, yeah, so what that happens, and then Faye stabs Peter, and Peter falls down the stairs, and then she kind of goes down the stairs to try and like get out of the house, and Peter wakes up and he grabs her and he's speaking in the duck voice. And he's going, "You thought you'd get away from here," something like that. And he comes up and he's like doing crazy duck voice, and he's like grabbing her and wrestles her to the ground and is gonna like start stabbing her or whatever. And then the police burst in, and the detective's there, and he fires his gun for the first and only time in the movie. Headshot. Peter's head explodes. It's awesome. So cool. Almost a worthwhile payoff to an otherwise just kind of run-of-the-mill gore movie where you just get to see the killer's head explode. Pretty sweet. Yeah, the film closes with Faye, obviously traumatized, being forced to sit between the psychologist and the detective man in the back of a police cruiser. And the psychologist has his arm around her, even though I don't think he even knows her. But I think it's implied that maybe like they'll be in a relationship now. Or at the very least that he wants to like put some moves on her or some shit. Like he's just being like, yeah, well, you see, Faye, all of these things will come to pass. He's like sort of trying to be reassuring, but he's also just like a weird, creepy dude to the point where I literally thought he was the killer earlier in the movie because he was talking all this shit about superior minds and whatnot. But whatever, they just say some bullshit, and then I believe the final scene in the movie is a scene of Peter, the slasher's daughter, in the hospital, and she's like, "Daddy, Daddy, where are you?" And it's like apparently he never visited because he was either like ashamed or too sad about it or something. Doesn't really make sense. And apparently her mom never visited either because she was down in Brazil, I guess. Like the last scene is of her going, "Daddy, where are you?" And it's very sad. And then it pans over, and you realize she has like a little, either like a little doll or a nightlight of fucking Donald Duck. And so that's why her dad speaks to her like that, and that's why he talks like that as the killer, because his personality, his other personality, when he is the killer, is freaking Donald Duck for his daughter. So it just, it's that type of of inspiration that you don't really see in film nowadays, where it's just like a man decides to become the avatar, or no, a man decides that his avatar as an avenging force will be his daughter's nightlight of fucking Donald Duck, a copyrighted character, so they can't say the words Donald Duck. They can't say that the killer sounds like Donald Duck. Instead, it must be that the killer just sounds like a duck, even though Donald Duck was at least a very popular character at the time. But you can't associate Donald Duck with a man who cuts a woman open on the nasty, dirty, filthy streets in New York. So I guess that's kind of how they worked their way around it. Yeah, that is the New York Ripper. Man, these slasher movies, they're rough because they're kind of the same thing every time. Sometimes you get a few differences here and there, but God, I really hope I don't have to do too many more serial killer ones. I think there's like an infinite number of them. That's the problem. If I want to keep this podcast going, I'm going to have to really dig into some 80s slashers, because that's like, there's hundreds of them. So many. Endless material. All of it terrible. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you're a fan of like of slasher films, if you're a fan of kind of like the murder mystery slashers, like the giallo films of the 20th century, then I definitely check this out. This is kind of like a quintessential American giallo. This director, what was his name again? Oh, sorry, it's been like a day or more. Lucio Fulci. He has a lot of other films as well. Several that I thought might actually be interesting, and that I may pursue some of his films in the future. But until then, thank you for listening. God damn it. I guess more content coming soon. There'll be an update on why there's been so many delays with the episodes recently, but that'll be for another episode. It's gonna need to be discussed later. But let's just say it rhymes with wielding when damned. Wielding when damned. Wielding when damned were wold wazard. If you could, for all you superior minds out there who can figure that one out, let me know in the comments if you figured it out. Also, keep voting from the list of no sleeps. That's important too, I guess. Let's go ahead and vote in the comments section. Just literally just type in the number or the title of the one that you want. That's all you got to do. Just leave a comment. Just do anything. DM me, email me. Send it to my email. What's my email? Oh God. whatever. Send it to the email in the channel description. Just do something. Just vote so I don't have to just pick and choose these on my own and have to feel like a bad host if I choose a bad one. I need the onus of that decision to be on you people. And no, I don't mean it that way. All right, more episodes coming soon. Goodbye, everybody. That movie was foul. I really hope I don't have to talk about any of those. YouTube's gonna like just strike my channel from existence if I have to find a different word for stabbed in the genitals. You know, it's really tough to find synonyms for that are A, funny, and B, YouTube friendly, or at least they have to be YouTube friendly after the 1 minute mark. I think that's what my nephew told me. Whatever, he's an idiot. I don't trust him. I don't trust any of these people. Take Hickok out.